Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you're joining me from. Welcome to Talk About It Tuesdays, a safe space where we talk about everything grief and perinatal related and whatever pops up in between. Now, as you can see that today I'm not alone. I am, yes, I'm the host of Talk About It Tuesdays, but as I shared with you last week in my video, I want to give you some more of who I am, what led me to this area of specialization, but for some reason I'm not able to do it on my own. So today I have with me my trusted best friend, Miss Veran Hussey, and I am just going to leave the floor open to her. She knows me very well, and she should be able to tease out the right information so you can get to know who I am a little bit more. Over to you, Miss Veron.
Well, thank you, Simone, and hello to your viewers. It is so good to be in this space. And I trust that you have been doing what Simone has been asking to watch the videos, but also to share because the information is very useful. And whenever the recordings are done, it is for fact. All right, so we're going to talk to Simone today about herself. Well, last week, for those of you who would have watched the feature, she would have said that she would be committing some time to speak about pregnancy loss and seeing that within this month, some attention is given to that. So, whereas you would have spoken last week and you would have given a little bit about your journey, you would have spoken about the statistics, but we want to hear about you, one of the persons behind the statistics. All right. So, sometimes we look at numbers, but then we don't know the faces behind the numbers. And so tell us about, how did this all start for you? You had how many miscarriages?
Some days I feel like I've lost count, but from my recollection, I would have had seven miscarriages. And I would also go further to say I've lost eight pregnancies because amongst the seven miscarriages, I had a set of twin boys or a pair of twin boys.
Hmm. Well, I'm sure that must have been very difficult for you, but how is it that you would have journeyed from, that point to now with so much strength
Mm.
and the resolve to be a wounded healer? What has inspired that?
Oh my God. Like I said, I have so much to say. And even though you're here teasing the questions out of me, or the answers out of me, it's just a difficult topic to still talk about. It is a journey. I don't think I'll ever be 100% healed. It is a journey. So I am in the space of healing. Um, I don't know. I think I'm one of the brave souls. I don't want to say brave because it's not to say that people who aren't comfortable sharing their stories for whatever reason that they're cowards, but it takes a lot to share about issues such as miscarriages because the stigma, as I said in the previous video, the stigma is still attached for whatever reason. But as to where I found strength, resilience, whatever you want to call it, I honestly do not know. A lot of what I can say now is really within hindsight. It's in hindsight because when I was going through those miscarriages, it did not feel good. I remember at one point I did everything right. First of all, I'm coming from a place where I did not want children, okay? To the
Mm,
point where I decided that okay, let's do something here. Family became more appealing, and I started to go in that direction by doing everything that the doctors told me to do, to include taking vitamins, which is not something I'm consistent with, but everything I was told to do, I did, right? And I remember with the very first miscarriage, and forgive me if I'm going back to come forward, I'll be going back and
okay,
forth,
that's
but
fine.
this is me just bearing it all. I remember with the very first miscarriage, I was placed in a room with a lot of teenage moms who did not want their children. And I can say that because that was openly expressed. So to see that I did everything that was expected of me, I took care of my health and was doing things in the proper order. And to see that I ended up in that spot, there was a time when I just didn't pray. Like prayers just wasn't on my agenda. Um, I mean, what would I have prayed about? Because everything that I would have prayed about just did not come to fruition. So I kind of stopped going to church for a little bit, did not have the words to pray. And even if I had the words, I probably just did not want to pray. And you would have known as my best friend that my relationship with God may not be the traditional or the conventional relationship that people expect. Just as how I'm talking to you, that's how I pray. And I'm like, listen, I really don't want to talk to you right now because this is a situation. So I came from there to at that time I was in Jamaica. Like I said, it wasn't in the best space because I was placed amongst people who seemingly didn't want their children. Fast forward to the following year. So these miscarriages happen pretty much annually. 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and I would have had two in a couple of years. I think 2017 and 2018, if I'm not mistaken, I would have had two losses in those years. Um, Fast forward to the other instances, some of them went by in a blur, and I would have numbed myself by just making a deliberate effort to not feel. Um, I was always of the mindset that with pregnancy, you should wait until 3 months pass and all of that good stuff. Yeah, and after the second miscarriage, I decided pretty much that if I should ever go through with a full-term pregnancy, I wouldn't tell anybody. And it so happened that with my very first child, who was born in 2020, my very own brothers did not know about my pregnancy until the day of my daughter's birth. So if she was born in the morning, they found out about her in the evening. So there were instances where I just kept to myself. I think I would have experienced some levels of depression, I guess. Christianity, spirituality, religion, all of that, whatever you want to call it, was just, I had a lot of questions and I don't know if I'll ever have the answers. But fast forward to 2025, I now have two baby girls. They're, how old are they, Veron? 4 and 5. 4 and 5. And I'm grateful, but getting to that point was not easy. Luckily for me, my friends were understanding of me being, I guess, secretive, if you want to call it, because I didn't really share too much of what was going on with me when I was pregnant. The journey itself was horrible. I did not enjoy any of my pregnancies. The last two I didn't enjoy because I had to visit the doctor every other week and the hospital every other week. So from week 12 to the day that they were born, I pretty much had an appointment every week. And that
Mm.
just took a toll on me. Plus, I'm living with the memories and the timelines of the previous losses. So, say for instance, I think the first loss was about 8 weeks. So my mind was in a space. I was a nervous wreck until week 8. Then you breathe a sigh of relief, and maybe the next loss, for example, was 12 weeks. So I have that little in between period where I sort of breathe, and then leading up to 12 weeks, I'm a nervous wreck. So I'm always on edge, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. So it was not the best space to be in. So saying all of that to say the resilience and everything that you see now, it did not come overnight. It came through very tough lessons. And I would have asked God sometimes, like, you don't think I could have learned this lesson some other way? I don't think, I'm not that dense. So if this is what you wanted me to learn, couldn't you have shown me or taught me some other way? I guess this is the way he sees fit. So I'm here today, and that's a big part of my why, as to why I choose this path. Because, like I said, there are many women out there who are going through the same things that I did, even worse. And they're just there in silence because there is no safe space to talk for some. Um, for some when they talk, the judgment is there, especially if you're coming from a, Christian perspective. Some people, if you question God, you know where I'm going with all of this without even
Right,
going into all.
right.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
But I'm
I
thinking
believe.
too outside of because you mentioned for persons who are Christians, but then you also spoke a little bit last week about some of the myths
Mm-hmm.
and just those other issues that might cause somebody to bear this heavy weight alone.
Yeah.
So you spoke about, living in that place of tension, especially when you were pregnant. But I'm just a little
Mhm.
bit curious. Now that you have your daughters, do you still have those flashbacks? And if you do, are they still pretty much around the same time that you would have them in commemorating the losses? And how does it make you feel now?
Yeah, the most impactful and hurtful one for me was the twins. The second one was a mystery because on the calendar I would have been 21 weeks, but according to whatever was passed out, they said that it would have been 12 weeks. So that one is, don't know if it's a stillbirth, don't know if it's a miscarriage, but that was just a mystery. But that wasn't as painful as the twins because everything was going along so smoothly. I still have their pictures, and from time to time, I'd go back and look at them, and they do resemble my two living children. And sometimes that's a little bit hard, especially from the side profile. I'm like, just there looking like this. Don't have the words, but just looking at them. Sometimes they'd be like, why looking at me like that? They wouldn't understand. They're too young to be even privy to this information. But that was the most painful one. So from time to time, I would have, they would be 6 years old, and I'm like, they had a name. Well, they had names, Aiden and Adrian, and I'm like, they'd be 6 year old. No, I wonder what they would look like. I wonder what they would be doing, those kind of things. And for the very first pregnancy too, I remember around about that time, it's like everybody and their auntie around me was getting pregnant. Like, and I'm not
Mm,
exaggerating, maybe about 7 different people that I know got pregnant at that time. And I was the only one who did not carry through to full term. So when I look at their children, from time to time, I look back and I'm like, I would have my math is off. So I'm guessing an 8 year old child or something like that. And I would look at their children. That one, even though it's the first, it doesn't hurt as much as the
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 twins.
the twins, because they were fully developed. They were just the only thing was for them to grow.
Yes,
So that was a
yes.
case of, it's called PROM. It's a premature rupture of membrane. So the sac, that one of them was in burst and the other one was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So again, that one was very painful. So that's the one that lived rent-free in my head. And
Mhm.
of course, there's that time when, so their birthday would have been November 3, but they died in May. So sometimes May is not the best month, even though it's my birth month. I've had the twins losses in May. I've had another miscarriage in May, the day after my birthday. And a very, very dear person to me had two stillbirths, not miscarriages, like live babies who died
Mhm.
in May. So May is a bittersweet month for me. And then there's the November when would have been their actual birthday, and then there is October where sometimes I don't know if I'm coming or going, and then my grandmother's birthday is tomorrow, and my grandmother
Oh,
died 2 years ago. So really and truly,
mm,
like I said, I invited you here with me because to be here with me because I don't know. And be like my kids right now. I don't
mm,
know. That's just the way I feel in this moment, even though I'm sitting here talking to you. It's just a lot. Um, it's a lot to process still, and I do have my moments. Sometimes it will come out of severe. They call it grief bursts. No, I'm not hollering in the supermarket or anything like that, but I do have times when I guess, recoil and I'll force myself to kind of think about why I'm feeling this way. And after probing and searching myself, I'd realized that it would have had something to do with the children who I lost.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and
Mhm.
I don't even know what to say, but I am grateful that you have also given me the privilege to come into this space with you and even to sit with you
Mhm.
and to ask the questions, you know. I know that you would have you've shared a lot, but for those persons who are looking on, especially maybe somebody is listening, watching today,
Mhm.
who they would have had multiple losses as well. And to date, they have not been able to bring forth a live birth. What would you say to that person?
Don't know. Do not know, and I'm being honest. Oh, that is a tough question. That is a tough question. Some of the things that we would typically say would be the same things that I would say to not say to somebody who is grieving.
Mhm.
So while they haven't lost a child, they're still grieving their infertility or fertility, right? So
Right.
they're still in that space of grief. So I honestly do not know what I would say to somebody who is that in that situation. I can't tell them to not lose hope because again, I lost hope. Hopefully, though, they have some form of support system that knows them well as an individual because these things are individualized, So for me to
Yes,
give a broad
yes.
brush, oh, don't lose hope, don't, I'm not gonna do that because that would piss me off if I'm in that situation. So again, there are other people who would take comfort in that, but I'm speaking as Simone and from my personal experience and from just listening to other women share, I would just say to find support, whether it's in your church, whether it's with a therapist, a coach, whatever the case is. Find somebody who you can just bear it all to. Find somebody who can guide you as an individual because everybody's situation is unique. So find that one person or that group of persons who can help you along this journey, maybe point you into direction of a perinatalogist, maybe point you into the direction of exploring other options. But to sit here and say, hey, don't lose hope, for those of you who that would apply to, great. But then there are other people who have lost hope, are losing hope, and still don't see any light at the tunnel. So all I would say is to just find yourself a support system. And I'm still aware of the fact that some people do not have
Have a support
support
system.
system. And even
Hmm.
if you have people, you can have people around you, that, but that don't mean that you are supported.
Supported.
So
Yes,
in
that's
that
true.
case, Facebook has groups for everything. Some groups that I see on Facebook, I'm like, thought about this. So if you're somebody, I would say, who don't have that support around you, you are not alone, but you're alone. Maybe tap into Facebook or some social media where you can even go on anonymously and share your story. It's good to just get it out. Yes, there may be cases where the cases just don't turn out like mine because I do know people who have had miscarriages after miscarriages, even more than I've had, and they're still without child. So in
Hmm.
their case, it may never be. We know that God may have other plans while man is saying something,
Right.
but there are cases where some people realistically will never have children. It's hard, but again, you can hop on to these platforms anonymously to seek that comfort and support. If needs be, but it is tough. It's tough. It is
Hmm.
tough.
It is. It is tough. But like you said, I want to just lift up the fact
Mhm.
having journeyed with you, and you're saying that a lot of things is in hindsight now,
Mhm.
But being somebody who was able to like imagine like you had a car and I was in the car, maybe I'm in the back seat driving on this journey, and it wasn't always clear skies looking out. It wasn't always beautiful trees. Sometimes the ride was bumpy and that kind of a thing. But no, I see you as a beacon and I see you as a ray of hope. And I would have used before the whole symbol of the wounded healer. And even though you still have, issues that are not resolved, maybe they'll never be resolved, but alongside the grief, the pain, you still have found new life. You still have
Mhm.
found restoration. You have found new resolve, such as your business, bereavement and beyond. So out of your pain, it has birthed a blessing. And you would have said that you don't know why God would have picked you. And those questions are very honest. And I'm happy that you were able to have that lament and you were able to be raw with God. Sometimes we say to persons that no, you can't. But in the end, we have situations where in the Bible, the book of Lamentations is about lament, and it wasn't saying to God, save me, take me out of this, but it was just a raw cry that whatever we're going through is unbearable. So I see that as a strategy, and I'm happy that in spite of all the things that sometimes come back to you, but knowing you, that I know that there are so many other so many beautiful things that have come up in the garden of your life. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about some of those beautiful things.
Enlighten me, what beautiful things you're talking about now, bestie.
Well, I mean, you have your girls, you get to take them to dancing, you get to
Oh
celebrate their
yeah, yeah,
birthdays.
that part. Like I was just, from the other day, I've just been in a space of gratitude. And of course, I'd have shared with you because I pretty much share everything with you. Well, most things. Um, yes, 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 yes. A lot of things that we go through, I believe, is not even for us. We're the ones going through it. But I believe the lessons that come out of these hard situations sometimes, and that it's not so much for you, the individual. Yes, you're gonna learn from it, but as you said earlier, that sometimes it's for others to see and to journey with you through you, if that even makes sense. But I'm just in a space of gratitude. I'm grateful for my girls. They are two bundles of joy. They are the source of entertainment in my house and everywhere they go. So there's that. But just things these days I really don't take for granted. I may not be in the best of health. I have aches and pains every minute of every day. But being able to work at my own leisure, being able to take my girls to school, being able to take them to dance, being able to take care of myself. I've deliberately scheduled myself into my calendar just as I like schedule my clients. I've been scheduling time to just take care of myself in every way, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, every alley you can think of. So for some, that may not seem like anything, but I believe those are blessings. I'm able to go to my exercise classes. I'm able to do so many things that many other people are not able to do. So again, I'm just in a space of gratitude, and I've decided to just be grateful and thankful for everything in spite of my journey. Um, yeah, and just look at the good that have come out of it. Not to say I'm not remembering, I will never remember or even think about or get sad about what has happened. But I'm just looking to move forward, as you'd have mentioned, and I guess people would have seen that bereavement and beyond is a new and upcoming business where I focus on grief issues on a whole, but perinatal mental health and perinatal bereavement are very dear to my heart for obvious reasons. So there is that. Um, I guess I can share it now. I very much have a passion for anticipatory grief because even in that space, I remember the very first miscarriage. And even the twins, I was sent home pregnant and was just told, oh, just wait until it comes. So
Wow.
I was stuck in that space where, you're hoping, okay, maybe I'm the very, what do you call it, anomaly who will pull through.
A
So
miracle
that
will
space was
happen.
tough. Right.
Mm,
So that is a form of anticipatory grief. So anticipatory grief is something that I hold dear to my heart. So saying all of that to say, I'm in the next few months, I'll be launching a circle where we can go off, but I won't today. But I'm coming up with this space where I'm creating this space where caregivers who are experiencing anticipatory grief can just take that moment to share, take that moment to be. Because even as a mother, sometimes we tend to focus on everybody else's need except ours. And we know that we can't be good to or for anybody if we are not good to and for ourselves. So there's that coming up. Um, others you'll just have to wait and see. That's why you need to like, follow, share, and subscribe. But I have a lot of things coming up.
a lot of good
So that's
things
all
are
I want to say
coming.
about
Yes, a lot of good
that.
things are coming. And going back to what I would have said before, that, that we can see more than a ray of hope, but we see bright rays of hope coming through. And maybe if that was not your journey, and we're not saying that, you know, it was the best thing, or when you were going through it, we're not applauding those moments. But the fact that you continue to garner new perspective, you have created a service, and I would want to say a ministry
Yeah.
for people who really need it, because you would have spoken about the gaps, and it's about closing the gaps, where there's a lack of service, a lack of understanding, because sometimes the best person to hear from and to be inspired by is someone who has walked the walk, right? So kudos to you again, and thank you today for being so brave once again,
Mhm.
for being so honest, as well as making yourself available to share your story, because you could have decided that you were still going to keep it private. And I'm sure that the persons who need to hear, that they will hear, and that
Mhm.
whatever it is that God wants to happen, having, received this message, I am confident that it will happen. So I just want to just encourage you, to continue being that person. All right. I don't want to call you Lady Grief.
Miss Grief.
Miss Grief. No, Miss Grief. No, I don't want to call you Miss Grief. I have to come up with a word. But maybe Miss Comfort. I really don't know.
Whatever it is, I'll take it. Whatever.
Whatever.
I may be different things to different people. So if I'm of comfort to somebody, that's fine. If I'm lady grief to somebody, hey, that's fine. I'll take it in the most positive way. So I'm just here to be to my clients and even my friends, whatever they want me to be in that moment. It's not about me. This moment here on my platform is about me. But when I'm talking to somebody else, it's about what they want. And if it's comfort, if it's a listening ear, if it's to just gripe, that's what I will be.
That's what you
I'm a
offer.
chameleon, grief
Oh, you're a
chameleon.
chameleon. I'm a chameleon. So I can't say before we close because it's not my space. So you'll have to close. But I'm just thinking, if there was a word, like you have a basket and you're gonna pull out a word of inspiration for a sister, and maybe next time when you invite me on the space, you could share a little bit more about, you know, how men deal with this, even through your husband's journey and all of that, because sometimes, it's the women whose voices are articulated, and they're, two persons who are going through this as well. So, but if there was one word in your basket that you wanted to leave with somebody today, what would that word be?
Before I pull the word out of my basket, are you inviting yourself back here next week, Tuesday? Thank you. So you'll see Miss
Hey,
Veron
you're
here
invited.
next week.
Where I come from, we are told that we should get our invitations. I don't want to force up myself, but since you want me to come back, I'll come back. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So she'll be here with me next week, Tuesday, to touch on what she just mentioned, because again, it takes two to tango, and men are oftentimes overlooked and are expected to
Literally, it takes
carry.
two to tango,
Yes.
miss.
Yes.
Oh, and
And the word is gratitude. Gratitude. Regardless of whatever it is we're going through, I think we should be grateful. And some of this would have learned on the other side of the rainbow, but my word is gratitude.
gratitude is it. So, yeah, gratitude
Yes.
is a
So
must.